What up? T-Bob here.
And Jake as well.
And look at you. You done stumbled upon little OTB Saints, where we bring you all the latest black and gold coverage.
Who are the Saints going to draft? Who's going to be their quarterback? What does the salary cap look like? All that information and more.
Hope you enjoy it. Like, subscribe. It's Tuesday, 9 o'clock, which means we head over to the 504 to those beautiful neworleans.football studios. Of course, guys, neworleans.football, Nick Underhill, Mike Triplett, the whole team over there bringing you excellent coverage. Been a proud subscriber for years. You should be as well. Nick, what's up, brother? How we doing, dude?
Doing all right. How you guys doing?
Doing well. You know, I got to be honest. It hurts Sunday. A loss always hurts. Especially when your defense plays so well, forces so many turnovers. But on the whole, I'm not really that concerned. Like, you have a perfect golden ticket scenario this Sunday, right? The Bucs lose in embarrassing fashion, so you're fine there. The Falcons lose. You have a chance to drop them to 1-3, go to 3-1 yourself. Like, you have the opportunity to be okay. But we'll get there in a second. Sorry, I want to start here. How much of an impact in your film review was no Taysom Hill in Sunday's game?
Yeah, I think so. I think a little bit of an impact on 3rd and 1 or 4th and 1. I think he would have carried the ball there.
Yeah.
So it starts there. I think that's an issue. I think it kind of hides with some of your or affects some of your ability to disguise a little bit. I think he blocks better than some of your tight ends. So I think it was an issue for sure. I mean, the bigger issue though is Erik McCoy going out on the 3rd play.
No doubt.
I think that just kind of crumbled everything at that point. The interior blocking was maybe the worst I've ever seen in a game, honestly. Like, it was rough. Like, and I think with the week to prepare, they'd be able to overcome that. And, I think that's a huge issue. And that was really the difference in that game. Him going down was really massive. And, we've seen them hide Trevor Penning before. I thought Trevor Penning was really bad in this game too, though. But we've seen them hide Trevor Penning. We've seen them hide kind of their offensive line issues up until this point. So this week, having to do it to hide McCoy, like, I think they'll look better without him in this game than they did without him against Philadelphia, because they'll have a week to prepare. But
yeah,
that was a massive issue, and I don't think they ever really made that adjustment in game.
Well, it looked like you had a tackle playing guard. Like, that's what it looked like. Like, you didn't look like you had a natural guard after McCoy goes down. Lucas Patrick has to slide over to center. But you do think, like, with a week of practice, that will look better, because it didn't look natural.
Yeah, I think with the week of practice, I think you have a better plan. I mean, obviously, I think you put in protections and do different things with McCoy because you know that he can do them too. So I think you kind of change up your whole entire approach on the O-line. So that would be different. Not having to do it on the fly, I think, is just a lot easier. So it's going to be a big thing they have to try to overcome this week. And if Cesar Ruiz doesn't play, I don't know though. Like, that's a lot to try to cover up on that offensive line. So those are the two big things to watch for this week, is those guys, whether they play or not. And I kind of lean towards no, honestly, on both of them. So we'll see. I mean, it's going to be a massive test. If they don't play, I mean, you're basically trying to hide center over to right tackle in a game. And I don't know if you can do it. I mean, they've looked amazing so far, kind of covering that stuff up. Wheels kind of came out a little bit this week. So I think the coaching staff on that side of the ball has earned the benefit of doubt to see what they can cook up with missing players and everything. But I mean, I would say I'm a little bit alarmed for sure. I mean, the offensive line was the weak point of the team, and I think you might be down, 1 or 2 players this week. So that's going to be a big deal.
All right, and Nick, I'm going to give you a personnel question, a scheme question. So on Sunday, Jalen Carter just felt like he took over that game completely. What is Atlanta bringing to bear on the defensive line?
I mean, David Onyemata, and he can kind of blow it up on the inside too in the right situations. I mean, he's not Jalen Carter, but Jalen Carter's not Aaron Donald, and damn, you would have thought he was last week. So, Onyemata going against these guys, if they're down a couple, I mean, I think that's going to be a tough test. I mean, it really is. He's a mauler. He's strong. If you're not organized, I think it's going to be a tough test for them. And, they got good players too at other positions, especially at safety. So if you're speeding up the quarterback at all and he's making some bad decisions, you're going to pay for him in this game. So it's going to be tough. It's going to be a tough game. It really is. I mean, they should win it if they're at full strength, but I based on right now coming out of that game, seeing the way Erik went down, I don't think you're going to see this team at full strength.
No, I mean, look, I went on Big Fave's Inside the Trid show last night, and we talked about that too. It's like, what happens when it's already your weakest group, and then you remove the center, which is already important to the O-line, is making calls, but the center also happens to be your most experienced and your best player. Like it is a triple whammy, right? Very hard to overcome. Schematically, Nick, the Saints made so much hay by going big in the first 2 weeks of the season, forcing team out of nickel looks, having success running the ball with all their formations, but then still being able to find success throwing the ball down the field. What did Philly do schematically to counter that? Felt like a lot of five-man fronts. I haven't watched the film yet. So what did Philly do?
Well, they play that 6-1 tilt, and Fangio came up with it when the Rams were running all over everybody back in the day, and they brought it out on a lot of first downs. And basically, it's a 4-3, but the way it's kind of set up, you got six guys basically on the line and one guy kind of at linebacker, and they just clog every gap and try to squeeze every single outside zone run all the way to the sideline, kind of make sure there's nowhere to cut back. That gives your DBs time to come up and make the tackle, and there's just kind of nowhere to go. And it wasn't like they were completely suffocating on those. Like there was one where Alvin got 5 yards, but it felt like he was just working so hard to try to like get those 5 yards, sprinting to the edge, getting to the sideline. There just wasn't anywhere to go. And they did a whole lot of that. And I mean, that's something that you do see teams do against these Shanahan offenses. This is the first time we've seen it. So they're going to have an answer for it going forward. I doubt they were surprised by it or anything like that, but it was definitely effective. And then you take out some of your rangiest player. McCoy's going to get out there. Maybe he's the difference in laying a block that kind of springs one of those lanes, but they just didn't have that. So that was kind of the difference in this game. They just made it really hard to run. Going back and watching the game, I know a lot of the social media reaction was that it was like a poorly called game. Oh, where are the plays? Where like there were people open, but when you were getting blown up by interior pressure on damn near every single play, like there's just really nothing you can do. And to Derek Carr's credit, we spent a year talking about how he stinks under pressure and everything. In this one isolated game, I thought he actually kind of handled it well. He didn't look panicked. He was still trying to make throws when he was getting hit. The very last play of the game obviously was a disaster, and you got to make a better decision there. But considering like I would bet Jalen Carter's pressure rate was maybe among the highest of all time for an interior player in this game. Like it was that bad. Like, and I'm not overstating it. Like, so I thought he kind of handled it okay, but I thought the Eagles had a really good plan. Every now and then you're going to get into a rock fight, and they were in a rock fight. And so, unfortunately, they should have won the game. I do feel like
they came up with the score, right? I mean, that's what frustrates you. They came up with the play, and then the defense would have been holding the rope all day long, just couldn't hold it once more.
These are the kind of games where, like, at the end of the season, it feels like if you have a special team, you find the way to win these games, but they found a way to lose it. And that's the thing that's frustrating about it. Like, they should have won, and they didn't.
So any worry about having 2 weeks of film now out there in the NFL, maybe the offense stalled a little bit, or do you think it truly is because of the injuries that you had, you could not stop the pressure they got in the middle of the defense there with Carter and others?
I think it's both. I mean, yeah, for sure. It's definitely both. I mean, people get an idea of what you're going to do, what your identity is going to be, and they defend it a little bit better. You aren't surprising anyone anymore. But I was reading something yesterday. They did this story, I think, in 2020 with Shanahan, McVay, and LaFleur. And obviously they all come from that Washington coaching staff. And they did this like panel. And one of the questions was, who is the person that's the toughest to go against? And each one of them said Fangio. Like, I think Fangio just kind of knows this offensive system probably a little bit better than everybody else, defends it a little bit better. And, that's a common thread there. Obviously, Kubiak comes from that same tree. So, yeah, but I do think that people are kind of figuring out what they are, what they're doing. I think they're figuring out Trevor Penning a little bit too, how he was being hidden. I counted like 12 bad plays in this game for him. It was not a good game for him. He was getting beat as much as the other guys. So Yeah, it's both though for sure. And you take Erik out, and I just think that's a massive deal. That just the way Carter dominated that game, and obviously I think he was going to get his pressures in that anyhow, but I think it was amplified quite a bit. And maybe McCoy finds a way to adjust and make a shift to something there. But there was a play where both guards pulled and they crashed into each other behind the quarterback. Like it just there was just like a level of preparation trying to do all this stuff on the fly, and like it didn't hit. And ultimately that does come back to coaching. You want to find a way to figure it out. But I'm willing to wait to see, because that plan against Dallas was one of the best plans I've ever seen as far as protection. So we'll see what they come up with, but it's a lot to overcome.
Nick, there's a lot on the line Sunday, I mean, at a time in which you're going to be down players, again, you win and everything's all good. You beat your most hated rival, you're 3-1, you'll at least have a tie for the NFC South lead. Your rival will be down there at the bottom with the Panthers, but you lose, and all of a sudden, all the goodwill of the 2 weeks completely out the window. Derek Carr sucks again. Dennis Allen sucks again. The entire franchise is a disaster. Like, those are the narratives at play going into Sunday. That's one of the bigger. Feels like one of the bigger weeks that I can remember.
No, it definitely is. I mean, you lose this week, and then you're playing Kansas City. I mean, and then you're playing the Bucs. So you could skid. You could definitely skid a little bit. And last year, that people forget, they started 2-0 last year, and then they lost 3 in a row. So it can be done. Like, how the script kind of plays out. So yeah, look, if they had won this game, like the whole thing is different. Like you can. The thing me and Mike have been saying, like, you can lose as many as you win in the start. Like, you bought yourself 2 losses by starting 2-0. If you win 3, you bought yourself 3 losses. And you do just kind of have to get through this early stretch, and then it kind of opens up, and it's open road going from there a little bit. But you don't want to be in a spot where you're 2-4 or something like that. I mean, that's not a good place to be. The psyche of the team last year, we've talked about this a lot. Like, it was at a place that felt very, very fragile, and like it could have collapsed on itself. You get to a point where you're at that spot. You got a lot of key players in contract years, young guys going into contract years. Those people start kind of checking out on the team goals when you get in a situation like that, kind of start thinking about themselves. Like, it could go sideways really quick. And I think it's important. Like, Atlanta's a winnable game. You got to win this game. Then you can lose to Kansas City and, whatever. But you don't want to lose this game. You're in a bad position if you lose this game, I think.
Well, the NFL will make sure you lose to Kansas City. I think we all know that.
I mean, they're going to
let's be honest.
Call, it's not a call. Yeah. Whatever helps out our boy Patty.
Yeah. Paulson Adebo is going to get like 4 PIs that week. Like anything that's even close.
There is no doubt about that.
Wow, just amazing black and gold takes right there, Jake.
I don't think I've ever heard any takes that are better than the 2 guys that just gave you that take.
And you can keep getting them by going ahead and liking, subscribing, ringing the bell to get notifications when we post. Have a great day. We'll see you on the next OTB Saints.